Alright, hello everyone, my name is Night Penguin, and today, actually yesterday, I recorded the Hess's Law of how to solve, how to find the enthalpy for the final equation using 5 chemical equations using Hess's Law. But this time I want to try something new. I'm going to be talking about power series. This one is from AP Calc and BC actually, and this is gonna be a 3-part series. And this is the first one. The first one I'm gonna be going over today will be I.O.C, otherwise known as the integral of convergence. Integral of convergence. Alright, so if you already know what converging, diverging is, and if you know what integral is, did I say integral? I meant to say interval. Yikes. That's one big mistake for me. Interval. We're not trying to find the integral of convergence. That's kind of weird. Anyways, the basic idea of this is, if you don't know what convergence is, just think of it like this. There's a function f of x, and the limit is approaching, I meant to say x. And x is approaching infinity. Then it needs to approach to a specific value. So an example of convergence will be, let's say 3x over 5x of f of x equals this. Then the limit of x approaches infinity will make it 3 over 5. Since when this approaches infinity, 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 it will get cancelled out. So it will only leave 3 over 5. If it's another example using the same numbers, will be 3x and 5x squared, then it will just be 0, because this one is superior than this one. However, it's still, even though one x cancels out with each other, another x remains. 1 over infinity will be approaching a very small value, which is close to 0. Alright, now that you know what convergence is, let me just erase all of this. I'll keep the example, or like the basic format of convergence up there, so that you can still like look at it and remember what converging is. But I'm assuming that you guys know how to do basic integration, finding values of a series, and knowing what limit is and what converging is. I'm assuming that you guys know it by watching my videos. Since this will be like the final chapter you should be learning if you're taking AP Calc BC. Anyways, over here, the very first thing that we're going to be talking about is the power series. The power series has 3 specific rules for converging. The first one is that it converges if x minus c is less than r. This is pretty lopsided. I'm sorry about that. I'll make 2 and 3 more horizontal. There. So the first one is x minus c is less than r. The second one is that the series converges for all x real numbers. Oh yeah, I need to identify this first. This is the center, and this is the radius. I'll explain about this later. Anyways, the second one is that it's converging it should be converging for all values of x. Basically meaning it cannot be discontinuous. The third one is that the series only converges at C. So C, which is center, is the focal point for the series. Actually, focal point isn't a good vocab to use. C center will be basically the convergence, the converging point for all the series. You know what I mean when I say, don't mind my handwriting, but actually I'll rewrite it. I don't like it either. Converging point, and delete this section to provide some space between the point and the converging. Alright. Now that we have the basic three rules down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an example equation. Well, all of this, you need to memorize it, so write it down on your notes if you haven't, or if you're going to like learn it, or anyways, just know what it is. That's all I can say for you. I won't be erasing the first one since we're going to be using that very often. It's kind of an important thing. Anyways. Oh yeah, I'm also assuming the power, you guys know what power series is. Actually, I think it's pretty important since we're going to be covering about it for two more times. Basically, what a power series is that there's an infinite series of the form C n x of n, which is centered at x equals 0. C is x equals 0. Ooh, I do not like that. C is x equals 0. This can also be rewritten as C of n x minus a of n, where a will be C this time. So, oh yeah, also series notation, infinity, n equals 0, same thing over here, infinity, n equals 0. I mean, it's series, so I'm assuming you should know a sigma by now. Anyways, that's a brief introduction of what power series is. Since I.O.C, interval of convergence, is like a more detailed part of power series, I won't be going too much in details about it. And yeah. Alright, let's do an example question. Infinity n equals 0. Let's say x3 of n. So over here, the first thing we know is that x over 3 will be the one getting power. So it's 1 plus x over 3 plus x squared over 3 squared plus x cubed over 3 cubed. What we know about this is that there's a common ratio between all of these, and it's that r, which is ratio, is x over 3. That's what we know. And now using this, we assume that, remember the first form I taught you, C of n, x of n, which is centered at x equals 0? Well, this is the same thing as this one. So we're going to assume that the center is also 0. So it will be x3 over r. And the one thing we know about r is that the very first value, which is 1, is the same thing. Radius is something I wouldn't term it as, but I also learned that saying, my teachers taught me that it was radius, so I'm not sure exactly why, but just follow along. So x over 3 is less than 1. And over here, since it's absolute value, we do 1, -1, and multiply 3 on both sides, so -3 x 3. Therefore, I.O.C will be from -3 to 3. Notice how I didn't put in any equal to value signs over here, so it's going to be parentheses, not brackets. Make sure that you're putting in the brackets and like the parentheses correctly, so that you don't get points marked off for FRQs and all. Alright, that's one example. Oh wait, I just realized I have a faster way to get rid of this. Backspace. Ease. I can just get rid of this. Oh, I need to get rid of the square thing there. I need to get rid of the toolbar. This. Alright. Are you kidding me? Alright, I'm gonna be cropping that out too. Alright, next example. This time, we're going to be doing something different. We're not going to be given the geometric series. Not geometric, the power series. What we're going to do is we're going to be given just f of x. We're going to be using the f of x to find the power series. And then we're going to determine what I.O.C is. For translating between power series to f of x and f of x to power series, I'll be going into detail about it the very next video. But we're going to be concentrating on I.O.C, the very first thing. So I'll just quickly go over finding power series out of f of x. So what we're given is 1 over 1 plus x. And the basic formula that connects the power series and f of x will be a over 1 minus r, where a is the first term and r is the common ratio. Now, f of x and s is the same thing, exactly the same. Then we know that a of 1 equals 1 and r equals -x. So therefore what we can derive from this is that it is infinity and equals 0. The interval between these two do not change at all, no matter what, since it will be a power series. And this is the basic equation. Now using this, we know that the common ratio, we know that it's centered around 0, so it's -x, absolute value, and a is 1, so 1. And then we do the same thing, 1, -1. And since we're taking the absolute value out of this, it's going to be plus x. Actually, wait, let me just delete this since I wrote it wrong. But since we're taking the absolute value out of this, x is going to be turned into a positive value, not a negative value. When you're solving the I.O.C equations, a lot of times it's going to be pretty tricky because there's going to be negative. If you go along with this negative, then what's going to happen is going to be -1 is less than x, which is less than 1, which doesn't make sense because 1 is bigger than -1. So you need to know that if you take the value inside the absolute value out, then it's going to turn into positive. And let's just put a positive value sign since I'm too lazy to delete. And since it's -1 to 1, x is by itself, there's no more configuration need to be done. Therefore, I.O.C of f of x will be from -1 to 1. Alright, thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one.